Welcome to the Jolt podcast. My name is Susan Patrick.
And I am Natalie Ledwell. And today we are going to be sharing our thoughts, observations, opinions when it comes to giving from joy. And as women, I feel that we are naturally givers because often the roles that we take on in life require us to be generous in spirit and in effort and in love and all of those things. And then sometimes giving can feel very depleting. So we're gonna talk a little bit about why that is, and how we can give from a place that's actually expanding our joy rather than robbing us of our joy.
It's so important because I do think there is an expectation that women be givers. We're the nurturers, we're the caretakers, and so there's this expectation. And I do find that some of the, if not all of the most joyful people I do know are givers. Right? It's fun to hang out with people who are givers. But I also find that a lot of women in particular struggle with maintaining that balance of how do I be the giver that I desire to be, but don't do it in a way that's sapping my energy, depleting my energy. I mean, think about it. If you're listening to this podcast right now, have you ever gotten to the point where you just hit a wall? You're going, doing, giving. And then the only way that you can self-regulate is that the body comes in and goes, whop-hat, and slaps you down. Right? And so that sense of how do we self-regulate before we get to that place of depletion? And make sure that when we're giving, first and foremost, it's adding to filling up our cups. So I want people to get selfish about how they give.
Exactly. Well, and you think about it, like, I think the only time I feel like giving is a challenge, or I feel resentful about it, or if I just feel, just depleted, it's because my cup is empty. It's because I'm running on empty, and it's because I'm not maybe looking after myself, or I'm feeling tired, or I'm feeling, sick, or whatever that is, which has been my week this week. Everything has just been a slog because I'm not feeling my best. So for us to be able to give in a way that's not transactional, that's not, I need something in return, or that I'm accepting some reciprocal exchange here, we have to have our cup full first. That's what, like this morning was the first morning I've woken up this week where I actually started to feel good. I opened up my shades. I got to see the sun come up. I was playing like music. I was having the best time. I'm like, oh my God, finally.
And that you're giving to yourself, right? You had to kind of cocoon for a little while, take care of yourself. We both just got done being sick, right? And I always look at that. I always like, where was I? And again, it's not a punishment. I didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. The body sometimes needs to relax. But I always do kind of sit and I think about, where was I not supporting myself? That kind of got me here. And is there, was there something else that I could be doing? But I do think there are those times in my life where I'm giving and I'm putting my joy, my needs, my energy aside as I'm giving to this other person. And that if I'm not giving from a space where I'm caring about and advocating for my joy, then I'm going to be surrounded by joy suckers.
I know
what I'm talking
about. Well, you think about it, giving, we can give from an empty cup. I mean, we can totally give and go, look, I have to get this done. I have to do this. I have to help this person. And we don't realize that we have a choice.
Yes.
We can choose in those same situations to be giving from a place where we feel good about it, where we're like, no, I really want to do this. I'm loving this. And the act of giving is giving me joy, as well as giving the other person joy.
Yes. And starting to consider yourself in the equation of first and foremost, not considering what the other person's going to think, not considering what the other person's going to feel first. It's about, what do I think? What do I feel? And this conversation was really inspired from, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a giver. She's amazing. She's magical. And she is a giver. And I feel like I'm a giver. I always say I'm a yes, you know, like,
yeah. And I think we've established that we're both yes girls. Yeah. So
right. It's like, whoa, you know, but then all of a sudden I say yes. And then I get into a situation. I'm like, whoa, did I really want to be here? Is this really giving back to me? You know, and so we were talking about, well, how do I take care of myself in a world that asks a lot of me? And we kind of came up with this I think it's a simple method, but I think it's one that you have to be really intentional about practicing, because I love people. I love life. I love to give. But what I realize is I can't always say yes. So how do I self-regulate? And what we came up with is, if somebody comes up to you and asks you for something, okay, and wants you to give them something, give them a cup of sugar, or give them some time to do this, or give them whatever it is, whatever the ask is, you always give something back in the form of appreciation. So you start with, oh, well, I really appreciate you asking me that, right? So you are immediately giving to that person. You're giving to them, maybe at the most important level, which is energetic. That's huge. You know what? I really appreciate you asking me about that. I really appreciate you thinking of me related to that. I really appreciate you wanting me to help with that. So you appreciate that. And then you take an intentional deep breath in. And that's when because you're appreciating, and it does two things. You're giving the energy, but you're giving yourself a moment to pause, to check in with yourself, to say, what do I want? Will that help fill my cup? That's the question. Will giving this help fill my cup? And if the answer is not hell yes, it's a hell no.
Hell no.
Our very good friend, right? We know
Rich Litvin.
Right? Rich Litvin. That's his motto. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And so you ask that question. It's like, you give appreciation, you pause, you ask yourself, will giving that fill my cup? If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And then you just let hey, I appreciate that, but that's not going to work for me right now. But thanks for asking. Maybe this person can help out.
Yeah. And what you're talking about, or you're brushing past at the moment, is how to set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, because someone asks you the questions or makes the request of you, you don't have to say yes. And there are certain ways that you can say no that aren't going to make you feel bad, or obviously, you know, make the other person feel bad. And again, I love this, that breath. I call it a pattern interrupt, because it's the pause that gives you the choice.
Yes.
Of what I'm going to think and say next. You know, and if you can't do it, you know, there are so many different ways that you can say no. You go, look, I'm sorry, darling, but I just can't do that right now. And then go, maybe you could do this, or maybe you could do that, or whatever. Or just go, look, I don't have that, or I'm not able to do that. And sometimes no is a complete sentence. Like sometimes.
Yeah. Amen. No. Go on. Woo. And you know, as I grow older and more into my body and my wisdom and into my menopause, I love it because I'm loving the pause. It's the power of the pause. And it is that taking the intentional deep breath and really tuning into yourself and advocating for what's going to fill your cup. You know, and I have a really simple energy meter. I know some of you aren't watching this via video right now, but I got my thumb in the air, right? And it's like this energy meter. Does this make me feel like this? Woohoo! Thumbs up? Or is it like, meh, thumbs down? And you become really in tune with that energy. And if it's thumbs down, I don't want more of that in my life. If it's thumbs up, I want more of that in my life. And so it has nothing to do about the ask hole in front of you. I love that term. I love that term, by the way. My friend, her name is Sylvia. She coined that. She goes, look, I'm an asshole. I'm a total asshole. And there are some people on the planet that are assholes, and God bless them. but you do not have to say yes to all of the asking. And we know this intellectually, but fine-tuning this is something we're never going to get done doing. And this is a huge joy sucker. When you are giving out of alignment, you are giving your joy away. And you're not giving your joy to the other person. You're just spilling out that energy. Joy is life force. You're spilling out your life force. And so I want you to become a steward of your joy. I don't want to spill out my joy. I don't want to spill out my life force. I want to make sure that I'm holding it and I'm generating it and I'm curating it and I'm expanding it and I'm feeling it and I'm tending to it and I'm playing with it. It's mine. It's mine.
Well, and here is the thing. I'm sure that there are some people who are listening to the podcast right now and go, look, that sounds great, but I'm caring for an elderly parent.
Yes.
Or I'm in a situation where I have to give. Like, you know, I am the sole caretaker, I'm whatever. So, and it can be very challenging and very trying when you're in that situation because you are consistently giving. It could be thankless, and it could be overwhelming, and it could be just consistent in your life. And it's very challenging to be in that role and not feel like it's overwhelming and that you're, you know, giving out of an empty cup. So in those situations, it's like, all right, so this is where I'm at. This is what exists right now. This is what's showing up in this present moment. So I still have a choice. I still have a choice to go, oh God, I've got to do this thing. Or, you know, you could go, I get to do this thing.
Yeah.
You know, I get to, this person may not be around for much longer. I might not be able to see my family or whatever that is, but try and shift your perspective or shift the way that you are looking at this and feeling about it for your own sanity. You know, and this whole process that you go through, the other person doesn't even have to be aware that this is what you're doing. You're doing this for you. You're doing this for your own joy, for your own energy.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that it's like I have to do this as opposed to I get to do this. Everything that you're doing in your life is your choice. Even though sometimes we can have a lot of data saying, yeah, well, I had to do that. Yes, and you know, what happens when you're able to expand the thinking and allow yourself to see how much choice you're in? It is a more empowering space. It gives back more energy to you. And this process can be instantaneous. And so, yes, you may still have to, you know, this is a horrible example, change your mother's diaper. That's what kind of came to my mind when I was thinking about when we had to take care of my mom before she died. You know, you have to, you know, you feel like you have to do this thing, but that moment of saying, intentional deep breath, my joy is important to me. I want to approach this in an energy that feels good to me. Why? Because I deserve to feel good. I get to do this thing. And that moment of self-soothing is such a gift to give to yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, the thing is that the only way you can get to that point, especially if you're in a situation like that, is that you have joy practices.
Amen.
During your day. Like, you need to also fill your cup, because I understand that if you are overwhelmed and everything is happening and it's just back to back to back, and you have no time or no moments in your day where you are filling your own cup and feeding your own joy, then it will be challenging for you to do that.
Yes.
You know?
The joy practices, right? Like talking about taking the intentional deep breath, verbalizing the importance of that. I deserve to feel good. There are these kind of these intentional practices that you put in your day where you're being a stand for your own joy. Because if you just try to do it when you're miserable and you haven't been practicing it, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, looking yourself
and it's not like
saying, you got this. You're beautiful.
Yeah.
I love you. I believe in you.
You don't have to do the same thing all the time. Because what I do is I'll check in and go, what would make me feel good in this moment?
Yes.
And it's not always the same thing, you know.
Nat, that question, let's just take a minute. That question in and of itself is genius. Because how many people in a moment where they're not feeling good aren't thinking about what can I do in this moment that would help me feel good? because it's putting you back in the center of what's happening rather than you being at kind of like the whim of what's happening around you.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful stand for your joy, to say, what can I do right now that can help me feel good? And maybe it's 25 jumping jacks, and maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe it's, I just need to get my blood moving. Maybe it's, I need to just turn on some music and just dance and move my body.
Yeah.
Like
this week when I wasn't feeling well, it was like, I'm just going to sit out on my balcony and get a little bit of sun on my skin.
Isn't that lovely? Yes.
That was what I could do. That's what would make me feel better in that moment. Because I didn't have the energy to go for a walk. I didn't, all of that. So it's like, all right, this will make me feel good. And then I played some music, and, I've got my joy playlist that's my go-to.
That, yeah.
So those songs are always rattling around in my head.
And I do love this conversation, because it is thinking about that sense of, how do I be my biggest advocate for my joy in the world? And not, because the conversation that kind of inspired this for me was thinking about the times that I've had to remove myself from people. And we kind of talk a lot about boundaries, and we talk about, having kind of healthy boundaries, healthy lines, but I'm not a natural remover of myself. I'm a leaner inner. I'm a leaner inner. I like that feeling about me. But the truth is, I need to start becoming more discerning about how much I'm leaning in, instead of saying I have to remove myself, which that really doesn't feel good. What I have to start lovingly doing is saying, wait a minute, I need to be a little more discerning. How much leaning in feels good for me? And then it's like, with this person, I want to lean in all the way because it feels good. There's something generative and generous, and there's something that evolves out of that connection. And with this person, I'm just going to lean in a little bit, because I know that I'm not necessarily going to get met with the same energy in which I'm expending. So I'm not removing myself, because that feels like a punishment.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. Yeah. It's like, don't talk to that person. Oh.
I know, it feels weird. I actually, on one of my coaching calls last night, one of my students, a guy, he asked the question. He goes, how do you know who to trust? Like, how do you know when you're in that situation? And I go, these are my major rules. Number one, I will share, if I share something that's personal, if they can reciprocate to the same level at which I shared, I go, great, this is the level. If I share a little bit more and they can reciprocate back, then I know that we can go a little deeper. But if they can't reciprocate back, I go, okay, this is the deepness. This is about as deep as we go with this relationship.
And that doesn't say anything about you. It says everything about just that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that person if they can't go deeper. That was my biggest blind spot, full stop. Here, I thought I was having all these deep experiences with people, and it was because I was going deep, right? So here I think I'm having all these amazingly deep experiences with people.
But they weren't.
I was having a deep experience, but the fun and the maturity and the real play is when you're able to do what you do with what you're saying, where you're discerning. Like, yes. I'm not going to stop being me. I'm not going to stop leaning in. I'm not going to stop sharing. I'm not going to stop kind of going deep, but I'm going to start paying attention to, is it something that's filling my cup in return? Yeah. Right. And if it starts becoming depleting, then I need to go, oh, that's on me. That's not on that other person.
Yeah.
Right? And I have to make the adjustments. I have to make the adjustments because my joy is important.
That's right. And so my second rule of thumb, which I learned very painfully when I was in my 20s, is that if someone has a certain characteristic that's not good, like you see them treating other people poorly, you have to know that eventually they will treat you the same. Because I had a friend who, I knew that he wasn't treating other people fairly, but I just never thought he would do that to me. And the thing is, they can't help it. It's part of their nature. eventually it's going to happen to you. So as soon as I see something that I don't agree with, I'm like, "Oop, okay, yep, this is as far as we go."
Yep.
And I've learned that lesson very painfully, so I will never have to go through that again.
Yeah. And I will also say that the biggest part for me with respects to how do I know when I can trust is that trust is really about trusting yourself.
Yes.
Right? That I trust myself enough to be able to, and maybe that's my favorite word today, to discern this is how I am in this relationship. I don't need that person to create safety for me. I create safety for me. I trust myself and my capacity and my ability to be able to look at what's happening. And I think for me, I've really enjoyed, as I've matured into being a mature woman, I'm still playing with this, and I'm fine tuning it. We've been doing it since we were in our 20s, and you're never done. You're never done. You know? so
Damn it.
the joy of the fine tuning, right? The joy of the fine tuning, because that's really what it's about. And how sweet it is when you realize, wow, I trust myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we are going to end the podcast for today, we're going to come back for the deeper conversation. And the deeper conversation is going to be around what the flip side of this coin is.
Yes.
Because, you know, we can be giving, but the flip side of that is receiving, and how challenging that can be for us at this time of our life. And I have some really great insights that I want to share with our paid subscribers.
I love this.
Yeah.
And if you're not listening to us on Substack, please reach out to Substack. And I'm going to actually end this podcast with a joke. Okay?
Okay.
Natalie didn't know I was going to do this, but I'm going to do this. What does a nun say when her bra strap breaks? She says, "My cup runneth over." And so hopefully you are in charge of your joy and you understand the importance of making sure your cup is full. On that note, we'll see you in the deeper conversation.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.